I'm going to show you today how to use different layers so that you're maintaining your artwork and you're not destroying your photos. Stay tuned. Hi, welcome to my channel where I help creative professionals like you organize ideas into productive work that flows. I like to use Photoshop because of the series of brushes. It handles really nicely. It was also the very first application that I used when I was just starting out in middle school. So these are a couple of ways that I like to use when creating my thumbnails. The essential things that I like to do with my files to kind of future-proof them so that you are able to edit them and you don't lose too much of your work. Photoshop is really best for raster images, so that includes things like photographs where all of the images are compiled and created based off of a grid of pixels. So that includes photographs, that also includes illustrations with a lot of texture in them. Most illustrations are really good for this because you're just laying down series of pixels, and that's why I use Photoshop. I use Photoshop primarily for my YouTube thumbnails, and this makes it so that I can really play with the textures and make collages with photographs as well. So we're going to start by creating a new document, and my image is going to be 1280 by 720 because that is those are the dimensions for a YouTube thumbnail that I like to use. And so I make sure that all my dimensions are good. This is going to be for digital, so the resolution just needs to be at 72. Since it's also for screens, I just need to make this RGB, and I have the background set at white. And I'm going to make sure everything's good, everything looks good, and I'm going to hit create. Now I'm going to be welcomed by this image. What I want to bring attention to is the layers panel. The layers panel is really what is going to be your guidance when it comes to any of the assets that you add to a Photoshop file. So I'm going to go ahead and drop in an image of myself that I've already taken and then drag that into the artboard. When I release it, it's going to automatically pop up, and you're going to see this new layer in the layers panel that's going to include the image. What I always do is I always scale it before I press enter, because that way all of the information is going to be kind of set in Photoshop. So you're just going to scale this to whatever size you want, and I'm going to put it right in the center just like so. When I press enter, everything looks good. So one of the biggest things that I like to do when saving my artwork is using these items called masks. And at the very bottom of your layers panel, you're going to see this button here. It is called the add layer mask. What it does is going to create a mask on any of the layers that you have selected. So I'm going to make sure that my photo is selected. I'm actually going to change this to photo. So let's be proper. And I'm going to hit this button and see what happens. It's going to add this little box on the right side of the thumbnail, and it's going to be completely white. And this means that everything is visible with the clipping mask. If I use the paint bucket tool, which is right over here, if you press G with black, now you can't see the image. And that's because when the clipping mask is full of black, it's not going to show anything. It'll only show what is considered white. So I'll show you with a brush. I'm going to make sure that the layer is selected. I'm going to make sure that the mask is selected still, and it is. And I'm going to switch to brush, and I'm going to brush right onto here. And you're going to see that as I'm brushing, you're going to see more of the image coming through underneath. And what's great about this is that you can do this, you can hide some of it. And if I quickly disable this mask by right-clicking on the layer mask and selecting disable layer mask, you're going to see that this is still, the rest of my photo is still there, versus just erasing and you lose your image forever. This is going to maintain your image in case you do some sort of mistake and want to bring back your photo. So that's how I use layer mask. masks. What is great about layer masks as well is that you can link and unlink the artwork with the mask, and you can move them independently from each other. So if you click this link and make it disappear, now you can select the artwork and move it around independently inside. And this is really great when you're creating like a thumbnail and you want to move the artwork or a profile picture within it. You can even still change the properties of the image so we can scale up or down so that there's more of the space around it. I'm zoomed out a little bit more, and you still have the full image. Let's disable that and see, it's still there. Do you have a project that you can use layer masks today? Let me know by hitting the like button below. Another way that I like to maintain some of my artwork is by using something called a clipping mask. And a clipping mask is when you create a new layer and you have its properties attached only to the layer beneath. And I'm going to show you by creating a new object underneath the photo. I'm just gonna create a circle. Let's do that. Create a circle, I'm gonna make it blue. And this is just for an example. So now we have this circle right behind it, and it's going to be independent from the photo. So let's start by creating a new layer. Let's make this layer yellow. We're gonna make a new solid layer. So what I'm doing is I'm going into the layers panel and I'm clicking on this button right here. It's gonna create a new fill or adjustment layer. So I'm gonna create a new solid color. So that's going to be a fill color. I'm gonna zoom out and I'm gonna use this yellow color and press OK. And it also attaches a layer mask to it as well. So it's going to be a fill layer of yellow with an open layer mask. And what I want to do next is add some opacity so you can kind of see what's going on underneath it. And when you're adding some opacity, changing the opacity of that layer, you're reducing the visibility of that layer so that you can see beneath it. And the yellow is coming through pretty evenly across the full artboard. And what I want to show you with clipping mask is if I change this color fill layer, this yellow layer, let's call yellow, and I'm going to change this layer into a clipping mask. So I right click and I select create clipping mask. That yellow layer will only apply to whatever is directly beneath it. So right now it's going to be the photo. And as I change the opacity of yellow, you're going to see that it only changes the photo. And you can do this with adjustment layers as well. If you look at this full dialog box, you're going to see that there's like brightness, contrast, levels, exposures, vibrance, all the things that you would normally do to change the way that your image looks. But this adjustment layer will make it so that you can still maintain your original photo underneath it. So I'm actually going to add, let's do brightness. Let's add brightness. And so this is applying the brightness and contrast to the whole photo. Again, this does not have the clipping mask applied. This is applying to the whole photo. So that's why it's affecting, let's name this blue circle. So it's affecting everything on the artboard, every little thing beneath it. But once I select, right click again, create clipping mask, it's only going to apply to the photo. And if I move it below it, it's going to change slightly because it's going to use brightness contrast and then add the yellow color. You can also change the settings for the fill adjustment layer to different layer views like screen or overlay, hue, color. Any of those can be applied to a fill layer. And you can also add, much like we did with the photo, you can change the mask a little bit so it'll only apply adjustment and brightness to the white areas on the mask. So I'm going to use my brush here. I'm going to go to yellow and you can kind of see it. You probably can't see it too much, but I can also erase away the mask. This is strictly just using the layer mask and the clipping masks to change and influence the images, the different objects. You can also drag these around, which is really great. Like say if I wanted to change this so that the yellow actually changes the blue, I can drag it away from the photo and it moves it below the photo, but I would need to go in again and create a clipping mask so that it's only influencing the blue circle. Now it's only affecting the blue circle. We can clear all of the mask. And there you go. All right, so this is an older thumbnail that I created for YouTube, for a YouTube thumbnail, and I did not name any of my layers. I've also done things like grouping things together. When you select multiple layers and press Command G, you can also group all of your objects together and also add a mask to that. So let's try to group these together. You can also group several layers together and also apply a layer mask directly to that and change this so that it'll influence all of the contents without changing it. So grouping objects can also be used to group multiple layers together and apply a layer mask too. This will make it so that you aren't destructive with any of your artwork and you can kind of undo or add new layers or duplicate the layers and do new changes to your image. Hopefully this will help you get ready. Try using multiple layers, adding clipping and adding masks like clipping or layer masks to your objects and see what happens. See what you can try with the different masks, and I will see you another time. Thanks for staying tuned. Let me know if you have any additional questions on Adobe Photoshop by commenting below. I'll see you later.